to this community and to every individual in it for caring about Israel, for standing with it, for grappling with the issues that some of you may have with what you see and read in the papers and on the news, and for expressing and communicating not only to yourselves but to your family and friends and counterparts how much of a place Israel has in your heart. One of the misnomers that people often work under when they are supporters of Israel is that their job is to be sort of lawyers, advocates, to be able to argue Israel's case, to know the law of the sea and why the naval blockade of Gaza is legal, or to know the law of international conflict, or to know why the Israeli strikes on this or that target in Gaza are legal or not, and so on. But the real service that people can give is not as advocates necessarily, but as character witnesses. People who know us, and people who can tell their friends who may be reading the newspaper or watching the news and being worried and wondering what on earth is going on and so on, who can say, I know the Israelis, I've been there, I know them, they are flesh of my flesh, and I know where their moral compass is. I know who they are and I know what they're trying to achieve. I sat here just now listening to the beautiful tones of the prayer for the state of Israel with that wonderful haunting tune that has become so common to so many communities around the world, not only Reformed communities but across the board. And it is such a compelling mix of words and melody, and it brings people together. And when you look at it, what are the words there? You're seeking the Almighty's help in guiding the hand of the leaders of the state of Israel. You're seeking the Almighty's help in ensuring that the state remains safe. You're seeking the Almighty's help to help us fashion a history that is always better than we've had so far. And that's what we say thank you for. Because it's not the specific legal argument or the specific media point here or there. It's that fundamental commitment to our well-being and to the shared nature of this enterprise in modern Jewish history that I think is the greatest contribution that everybody makes. And I'm really glad to have the opportunity to thank you on behalf of the consulate, on behalf of the country. I think it also behooves me, in words of introduction, to also acknowledge the staunch support of the Government of Canada for Israel at this time. There isn't a government in the world that has been so forthright and so clarion clear in its expression of the nature of this conflict and where wrong exists and where right exists. I want to add something though. The position of the Canadian government is not just a position of the Conservative Party. We see expressions of similar understanding and similar support from across the political spectrum. And here's another opportunity to say thank you to the Canadian Jewish community for its work in making sure that the political leadership of your country understands your concerns and understands what Israel means to you, not in terms of left and right, but in terms of right and wrong, in terms of the decent moral compass of who we are and what we're trying to achieve. Again, without those political refrains of which party you support or which party you oppose. And we see that commitment that emanates up from the Canadian Jewish community as well as others into the political arena, and it is hugely important for us and for the state of Israel as we address the challenges that we face. The Naomi Shemer song that we sang just before, I was in a different shul a couple of weeks ago, and the event was opened with some psalms and a lot of expression of concern on the part of the rabbi for the well-being of the soldiers and the people of Israel and so on. And I found myself almost having to sort of offer a countervailing sort of perspective in that while yes, we are under challenge, yes, there are troubles, there is difficulty, there is great fraughtness in our condition at the moment. There are still immense strengths and immense qualities and immense opportunities and things that we can celebrate and that we can work with going forward. And the honey and the sting is a great choice of capturing that truth. There is a lot of sting, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of difficulty in the current situation, but I do believe there's a lot of potential here for things, strong and good things looking forward. I take that in the context also of the broader story here. And this is the one framing thing that I want to do at the top here, and then I'll hand it over to Herschel to sort of begin the discussion. We get caught up in the modern era, and the media is doing it to us on a daily basis in the very, very, very specific, the very, very, very particular. And we often lose a bit of perspective. We get caught up, was that building hit? Should it have been hit? Who was in the building? Who wasn't in the building? When did they know? What did they know? It's all very, very, very small scale. If we could just zoom out for a little bit and look at where this story is in the historic arc of our people's history, and I mean the whole long historic arc. Herzl came up with the idea that there needed to be a Jewish state because the Jews were suffering as members of communities around the world. There was anti-Semitism, there was difficulty. We had a sense of ourselves as a people, and yet we had never actually, in the modern era, worked to realize our national political rights as a nation. And he germinated the idea that we could do that. And on the basis of that idea and his willpower at the beginning and those of many others that came with him and followed him, we ended up building a Jewish state, a real, living, breathing political entity that gave our people the chance not only to express ourselves as individuals and as communities, but as a national whole, as a people. The story of the establishment of Israel is still ongoing. Many people see Israel as an inheritance. I don't know, paintings here, but imagine your homes. You inherited a painting from your grandmother. It's beautiful. You admire it. I may have used this analogy before here. If I have, please forgive me. But it's something that you didn't make. It's something you inherited from a previous generation. And it's an heirloom. It's a family heirloom. You value it. You hang it. It's not really yours. It's yours by default, by inheritance. But the reality is, in the state of Israel, is the national canvas of the Jewish people. And it is being painted, it is being fashioned every single day. And this particular month of conflict that we're in at the moment is part of that longer arc. And if I mentioned Herzl and so on, let's talk about Zionism for a second. I had a meeting just before with some of the younger members of this congregation and other people associated with it. And I'll tell you, the best moment that I had at Camp George on Friday was the full hour that I spent with the CITs. Anybody know what a CIT is? Exactly. The young counselors who are about to become leaders of the kids that your grandkids, your children, who are all these kids who sent to camp. I had a session with them. Now, some of them were spacing out, I promise you, it's true. They're 16. But there were a good few who were really focused, and I threw some curveballs at them and I tried to challenge them. We had a really engaging discussion. And one of the things that came up, I think, in the conversation just now with some of the younger people here and those very young people that I spoke to on Friday was this. Israel is often perceived as a society under threat. We often, if you like, our Zionism is often what you could call crisis Zionism. We stand by Israel in times of need. We rally when she's under assault. We pull together when we know there's a concern. The story of Gilad Shalit is one great example of it. But today, and this month, and so on, is another. But the truth be told, and every one of us here knows it, Israel isn't just a country in crisis or under challenge. Israel is also, the story of Zionism is also crisis Zionism, we also have aspirational Zionism. The Zionism of what we want Israel to be. The Zionism of what we want to achieve as a nation. The Zionism of our national self-expression through cultural and language and through our religious expression and so on. And we have created the vessel through which we can have that aspirational Zionism. That vessel is the state of Israel. And so when we protect it, we're not just protecting it because there are anti-Semites and because there's Hamas that would destroy us if we got even a scintilla of a chance. We're protecting it because we want to be able to keep building it and keep making it what it can be. And that is the forward-looking point of view that I think is so important here. Even while we're under challenge, we still try, and I believe we succeed in maintaining the right moral compass. We still maintain our social cohesion. We still maintain our sense of purpose in the world, which is far more than just standing up and defending ourselves. It's actually continuing to build our state and our society into the models that the prophets and that our founding fathers imagined. We're going to discuss some of the specifics of the current situation now, but that's a thought that I wanted to make sure that I shared this evening. That if we zoom out from the specific focus of this action or that action, this moment, this challenge or that response, I believe that there remains in the story of Israel and in the connection between the Jewish people in Israel so much more that we haven't yet done, so much more opportunity with the next generations coming through, with the modern values and the modern tools at our disposal. Herschel's an expert on social media, so we won't talk about that. But there's so much that we can do and we can build in order to make Israel not only understood better, which is important, but also to help it realize its great potential, which is really what the whole Zionist project is about. Thank you again, and I'm open for questions.